What's going on, friends? Welcome back to another video. This video is going to be all about where to start when you're homeschooling, and this specific video is going to be based around all of these topics as it pertains to homeschooling in Texas. We are a Texas homeschooling family, so this is going off of what I know to be like the laws and the requirements for homeschooling, so it could vary depending on which state you're in. I'll leave the link below if you need to go and check out your state's requirements and mandates and things like that as it pertains to learning at home. But as I'm going to be answering these questions, I just want you to keep in mind where I am and that some of these will specifically apply to us. Now, with all of the changes and occurrences that have taken place in the summer, a lot of families are choosing to start homeschooling this year. I know that this can be a very unsettling and kind of up in the air feeling time, but I first want to start by telling you that if you are considering homeschooling, you can do this. You are very capable. Don't let it intimidate you. Don't be afraid to do what you feel is best for your kids and for your family if that is something that you're worried about. When it comes to homeschooling, I want you to kind of see it from the view of you've been teaching your children how to do different types of things until they were old enough to go to school. So to think that you can't continue to do that just because they're a certain age, throw that idea out the window, because you totally can. There are lots of different resources out there, different curriculums and programs that you can be part of, as well as people that are here to support you and to answer your questions or concerns and to guide you along the way. So don't let that deter you from learning at home and homeschooling if that's something that you're leaning toward or even heavily considering as the clock kind of is ticking down to the new school year starting for traditional schools. Okay, so I have a few different questions, like big topic kind of questions that I want to go through and answer for those of you who are considering homeschool but kind of don't know where to start. So like I was saying, first go and check out the website down below to check your state's laws and requirements as far as homeschooling is concerned, and then go from there. The next question is going to be kind of what do you do after that, right? So looking into the different styles and models of homeschooling is important, and I want you to look at these options from the lens of what is best for your child and also what you as the leader of the pack are going to be able to accomplish and take on with confidence. So you can search the different models, but basically in a nutshell, there's everything from something that looks more like schooling at home. So what your kids would be more used to if they have been in traditional public schools before. This is kind of mimicking that only in your home setting. And lots of different curriculums and programs are aimed toward that as well, if that's something that you feel comfortable in and will best serve your learners. If not, there are a variance of other programs and styles or models, as they call them, of how your learning at home experience will be styled as far as implementing and teaching and activities go. So everything from kind of more structured all the way to deschooling, which is kind of going more with the flow of how your family operates, interests that your kids have, and letting that lead the way for your learning at home experience and for how your children will be immersed into learning and different topics like that they want to explore. If you're thinking, well, I love structure, my kids are kind of like that too, we like something that's very detail oriented and so we know what to expect all of the time and we don't really want to have the freedom of plugging and playing everything, or if you feel like that's something that's going to intimidate you just starting off, that's perfectly fine. Go with what works for you. Don't try to make it look like someone else's experience. Don't be pressured to feel like you have to recreate something that you've seen before. That's one of the big perks of homeschooling. You get to choose and determine what is going to check all of the boxes, what's going to satisfy all of the requirements if there are, or just kind of like the requirements that you want your kids to have. Whichever way that you feel like is going to best align with that, that's exactly what you need to do. And if you pick one and then find in 3 months that that's not really working for you and your family, then it is okay to change it. You are not married to one curriculum or program or even style or model of homeschooling. That is something that I think a lot of people feel like once they commit to one thing, they have to stay with that thing for a whole semester or a whole year or the entire time that you're homeschooling, and that is not the case. It is great to be flexible and even better to teach those concepts to our children as well so that they grow and learn to do the same. Activities and events and pandemics are going to happen, and sometimes things are out of our control. Hopefully another pandemic doesn't happen, but you guys know what I mean. There are things that are often out of your control, and that's totally fine. You just got to kind of learn to roll with the punches, adjust where you need to, and keep it moving with something that's going to best serve you and your needs and what your family is wanting to accomplish with homeschooling. Okay, so right under that is going to be the big question, what curriculum should I use? And the same thing applies here as far as the different models or styles of what you can go with. There are public schools online. Now that is kind of that model where it's mimicking traditional school and your kids are just able to do it in the comfort of your home or wherever you may be. Often these are just like online. They may have some like physical materials, and then there's everything in between that option and creating curriculum and activities and assessments even on your own. And this is more of a model that we follow personally, but we do tie in various different things that have a little bit more structure, if that's what you want to call them, but we always have like a desired objective or outcome or lesson that we're going after, or even like a concept. For instance, addition, that is going to have like the same end goal regardless of how you teach it and how it is introduced and practiced by your kids. So if that is more of an option that you are looking for, then go for curriculum that somewhat goes with that if you are not wanting to do it all on your own, or if you have a huge creative bug and you have the confidence to build whatever your kids are going to be learning and experiencing in the home, then go ahead and do that. Build it all on your own. Now, this is kind of where it comes into play with your state mandates and things like that, because there are, in some states, different subjects that you have to be teaching or different assessments that your kids are going to be expected to take later on. So you are going to want to, be advancing your children so that they're prepared for those topics and ideas that are going to be in those assessments or pertain to those subjects. In some states, like in Texas, we have, certain subjects that we have to teach, and our curriculum has to be bona fide, but that still gives us a plethora of ways in which that we teach those topics, activities that you can do, even groups that you can be part of that will help your child to have those experiences and have different ways of gaining that knowledge and becoming familiar with different topics and ideas and concepts. Okay, and we've probably all heard this question, but are homeschooled kids at a disadvantage, or are they going to lack socialization skills? And this is something that I've been seeing a lot lately with people who are considering homeschooling, because they're like, well, if my kids aren't in traditional schools, then they won't get X, Y, and Z. Okay, then to me, that would say, make sure they get X, Y, and Z when you're homeschooling. And it does offer a lot more flexibility when you are homeschooling to involve your kids with different groups or even other families who homeschool. I know Facebook has tons of groups for like specific areas of people who homeschool, or different co-ops where you can go and learn, or your kids can go and learn with other children who are around the same age, or even like play groups that go and hang out at the park just so their kids can be familiar with other children and play and relax a little bit. But it also gives you, as a parent, a support group as well, because those families and those parents are doing the exact same thing that you are. They probably have a lot of the same goals for their families and for their kids because they chose homeschooling. That doesn't mean that everyone's going to be your exact same person, but it does mean that you have a lot of different commonalities, and that your kids will also have, more than likely, a lot in common with those children too. For example, in our area, I know there are lots of different groups that offer, different learning or even playing events and like meetups and things like that. But there are also different recreation centers around us that offer homeschooling programs. So there's one that does homeschool PE classes like once a week, if not once a month. And then we have like a nature center that offers a monthly program. So there are all different kinds of opportunities out there. It's just a matter of finding them or tapping into those groups of more experienced and veteran homeschoolers who know about those groups and those programs. There's even like a skating rink around us that does homeschool Fridays, I think. And so it's like discounted for homeschooling families, and they have like a set time that they can go and skate at that discounted price, once again, with families and children who are kind of in the same boat that you would be. Okay, and then the last two questions that we're gonna talk about today are, when does homeschool start and how much time you should be homeschooling your children? So when homeschool starts is up to you. When you take breaks is up to you. When you are creating and implementing different programs or curricula, that is completely up to you. You are now going to be the superintendent. And I think sometimes that's a little intimidating because calling the shots and making all of the decisions for your children's learning may feel like it's very overwhelming. But I want you to also consider, would you rather be making those choices for your children's specific needs and interests? Or would you rather your children to be in a situation where they have to conform to one standard or only a few different options that may not really speak to them as clearly as something created just for them would? So you can create the schedule, the option of doing like year-round learning if you want to. That's something that I am definitely taking advantage of for my own kid, and also how much time you're going to allot for learning every single day. Now, your children are constantly learning. They are watching you, they are taking from their siblings, they are experiencing the world every moment of every day. Whether they are in a traditional school setting, or whether they are in your home, or whether they are in a small group of other homeschooling kids, or even at the park, at the grocery store, wherever. So they are constantly taking in information and applying it to their little knowledge bank already. So to be able to do that just with other topics is what homeschooling provides. You're able to help your kids and support them throughout all of their learning. They don't have to go and sit quietly in a classroom. They don't have to abide by all of these different rules that you may not really need to or feel the need to enforce in your home. They don't have to go to all of the classes that may be required by your state that don't necessarily affect their learning experience, or, like I said, align with their interests. It's not going to be something where they are having to take part in all of these things that may not be as beneficial to them as options they would have if their own parents or family are able to create the learning experiences and framework for them. So that is kind of all that I wanted to talk about today. I know this is going to be a little different than what I've been doing lately, but I hope that this video speaks to those of you who are needing a little bit of encouragement or clarification for homeschooling, especially coming up on another school year that kind of seems like it's up in the air for you. And if you don't know already, I used to be in the classroom, so I can only imagine the pressure and kind of unsettling feeling that comes along with these times, not only for the teachers, but then again as a parent. So if you are facing the question of whether you should homeschool or not, just know that if you choose to homeschool, you're going to be more than okay. Like I said, there are lots of resources out there. There are lots of different groups and other homeschooling parents, and even curriculum or programs that will best serve you and your children exactly how you need them to, especially in this time. So if you do have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments below, or if you need some support with something, I would be more than happy to help you with that. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss another one, and I'll see you in the next one.